All right. Well, hope you had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. I'm a little under the weather. You could probably hear it in my voice, a little nasally, but overall not terrible. But I did want to put out a video today. I gotta be honest. I feel like I'm getting a lot more sympathy for the woke church people and all that kind of stuff. Now, don't get all crazy. I'm not getting soft. At least I don't think so. But I gotta say, you remember, this is me back in the day. Now, listen, this is right before I moved out of my old house and into this house, and man, I was much better Christian nationalist back then. Look at me. I was thinner, healthier. Although I am stronger now, much stronger, a lot stronger than I used to be. But you might look at me, you might think I'm bloat maxing, although I'm really not bloat maxing. But if I was bloat maxing, that would be a lot more respectable. In any case. Back in the day, I remember we used to see like news reports, right? There'd be news reports about how, white supremacists are the most biggest dangerous threat in the world and how racism is just rampant. And then we'd see it not even just in news reports, but we'd see it on social media too, where it'd be like, racism is just rampant. And then we got Jemar Tisby, racism never goes away. It just changes form, and sometimes it goes underground where you can't really see it. And then every now and then it comes above ground where you can see it. And then racism's our biggest problem. And I remember not even just on social media, but also like even in the church too, we'd start to see a lot of people, start making declarations and statements, and churches would set up these statements against racism, condemning racism. And we were all kind of laughing about it together. I don't know if you remember, but we'd have a good time in this channel laughing about it, because it's like, yeah, I'm against, racism too, but is it really that big of a problem? I remember thinking to myself, I've experienced a few things that have been not pleasant, as a Latino, as an American Latino. I've experienced some unpleasantness, but it really hasn't been a big deal. You get over it. And it's just it's a little bit. There's like a handful of hardcore racists in the world. And if you meet some of them, like some of us have met some hardcore racists, you just kind of get over it. You move on with your life. You give them the gospel. You treat them, like any person who has a pet sin that they like. And, if you meet someone that's a homosexual, it's the same kind of thing. It's just and it's it just was crazy to us. 'Cause it's you're talking, you spend 90% of your time talking about racism. Do you remember that one video we did where Matt Smethurst from Gospel Coalition tried to make it seem like all they talk about is abortion, but then only sometimes they talk about racism, and everyone freaks out and says, "Why you always got to talk about racism?" And you remember we did the little experiment where we went on Gospel Coalition and actually did a search for terms like abortion and racism and white supremacy and things like that, and we found it was actually the exact opposite. 90% of the time they're talking about racism versus abortion and stuff like that. But it was always so crazy to us, because it's this very small problem. Hardly anybody's an open racist anymore, and even the secret racists, they're probably not that big of a number because they really don't affect society at all, right? If they were a huge number, you would think they'd be affecting society a lot more overtly, but they're not. So we were always confused. It's like you spend all your time with these statements against racism, and meanwhile, babies are literally being killed, right? And it's legal and it's open, and 50% of the country is for it, and they vote for it, and they love it, and they want to shout their abortions. It's and these, even if there was just as many racists as there were pro-aborts, abortion's a lot worse, and yet you're spending all your time about this really what we said is it's a fake problem, really. It's a fake problem. Racism isn't rampant. That's a joke. Everybody knows that it's not rampant, right? Everybody knows this. And it's well, representation matters. And we would laugh about that because it's I don't remember a single family. Actually, that's not true. I remembered one family that was white on a show that we watched that was white, that was well-adjusted. It was the Matthews family in Boy Meets World. Every other white family depicted was degenerate or broken in some way. And every black family, it's not like there were no black families. Every black family was well-adjusted and nice, and you'd love to have them as a neighbor and stuff like that. It's yeah, representation matters, but even in the 80s, we were over this. And it's like, yeah, does that mean there's no racism? Because that's the thing people say. It's like, whoa, so racism ended? When did it end? When did racism end if it's not a problem? And it's like, we used to laugh about that too, because it's like, well, I'm not saying it ended, but it's not a rampant problem. And if it is a rampant problem, you got to show me some evidence of this being a rampant problem, right? It's like, it's not enough to just say, well, that guy over here is racist. You know, they point to Richard Spencer or something like that. Well, that guy's a racist, so you see it's a rampant problem. Well, that's just one guy, and he's just an idiot on YouTube, right? And so, you know, we would laugh about that stuff, and we'd have a good time doing it, and, you know, all that. But I gotta say, you know, maybe we were too hard on them. Maybe we are too hard on them, because I'm seeing the same thing play out now when it comes to the rise and the big problem of anti-Semitism. And I got to be honest with you, I can't believe that there are a lot of people who see this. I'm not going to say I'm the only one, but there are a lot of people who were with us on the anti-woke stuff. It's like, well, yeah, you know, you're saying all these things are racism that really aren't racism. Like either racism's a rampant problem. Prove it. Well, you know, black families have less money than white families. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't really prove it. That's not racism. That's a disparity. That's not the same thing unless you're a commie. That's what we used to say. We'd have a great time. But now it's like anti-Semitism, the rise of anti-Semitism, and it's the same play. It's happening in the same way. It's like, you know, MSNBC does a report on it. And all these Christians that I respect that know the score, they know the game, they know it's MSNBC's propaganda, they know that Fox News is propaganda, they know that CNN is propaganda, they get it. They saw it in the pandemic, they saw it all the time, they saw it with the race wars of 2020. We know what they produce is not really the truth, it's just propaganda. And yet I see these people talk about, look, see, this is the rise of white anti-Semitism. MSNBC said it's got to be true. It's got to be true. The rise of anti-Semitism. And the thing is, like, you know, some of us are still laughing about it because it's the same play. They're running the same play. It's, you know, racism's a rampant problem. Anti-Semitism's a rampant problem. And a lot more of us were laughing, though, when it was anti-black racism that they were claiming was the big problem. And we knew it really wasn't through experience and through the data. Because if you look at the data, too, the data doesn't say what they say it says. It just simply doesn't. And so we were laughing about it then, but a lot fewer of us are laughing about it now. And I just have to wonder, what's that about? What is that about? How did all these anti-woke people who got it, they get it, they don't see the play being run now? It's the same thing. You even see it on social media. Oh, right, yes, I am opposed to anti-Semitism. Every blogger, every, you know, talking head, I stand against anti-Semitism. It's like, okay, I mean, I guess that's good. You know, so do I. But why say it? I mean, it's not a rampant. You're buying a false narrative. It's not true. The rise of anti-Semitism isn't a thing. Just like the rampant problem of racism wasn't a thing back in 2020. And, you know, yeah, there were a few, you know, shootings and stuff like that the media told you was a certain way, that, you know, highly suspicious that it was a certain way. And just like that, there are certain things that the media can point to. And let's just give them the argument, right? Let's just say all the shootings were racist, all of them. And all the anti-Semitism really is anti-Semitism. It's still not a rampant problem. It's not a problem that Kanye West is saying he loves Hitler, because that Kanye West is a celebrity. He's just like, you know, honestly, like, does that represent a lot of people that think that Hitler is a great guy and, you know, stuff like that? That's not what he said, by the way, but that he likes him. Is that representative of the nation? People like Hitler? Is that what you think? If that's what you think, I think you've got a problem. I think you've got a problem. My goodness, it's just crazy. You know, it's the same play. It's the same play, but you just have to replace blacks with Jewish people. And for some reason, now it's a legitimate play, but before it wasn't a legitimate play. I think I may have been too hard on all those woke people. Not that they were right, but I guess it's much easier to fall for this play than I thought it was. I don't know. And we're seeing the same thing in the church too. Even the CREC, they made the Knox Presbytery, right? And look, maybe they have a problem with anti-Semitism and kinism in the Knox Presbytery. I don't want to discount that because I don't know anything about the Knox Presbytery. So maybe they do. Maybe they have a lot of kinists in there that are trying to get in, trying to make headroads into the Knox Presbytery. Maybe they got a lot of anti-Semites that are trying to make inroads into the Knox, Presbytery. I don't know. It's possible. It's possible, but they put out their official statement. We stand against kinism, and we stand against anti-Semitism. And it's like, well, congratulations. I mean, this is the same thing I said to the SBC. Well, we stand against slavery. And it's like, well, congrats. What do you want, a cookie? What do you want, a cookie? I'm a Christian. I'm not supposed to know that joke. And I'm laughing. I'm still laughing. I was laughing in 2020 when it was about how racism against blacks is the most important issue. And I'm laughing in 2022 when it's supposedly the rise of anti-Semitism. I don't believe either one, by the way. And it's so funny because all you need to do is look under the hood a little bit to know this is all fabricated, right? Like back in 2020, we would say, okay, prove it. And they'd say, well, Latino families don't have as much generational wealth as white families. That's how you know it's racist. And it's like, so we look under the hood, we ask one question, we're like, yeah, but that's not racist, though. That's just a disparity. There's all kinds of disparities that exist. There's not a lot of white people in the NBA. I mean, what do you want? We knew, all you do is ask a couple questions. You look under the hood. And if you do this, you could do the same thing with anti-Semitism. You go to the ADL. What's anti-Semitism? And they're like, well, even guys like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro. It's anti-Semitic to try to convert the Jews and to say that they're not going to heaven. That's anti-Semitic. If you want to convert the Jews into Christianity, that's anti-Semitism. It's the classic form of anti-Semitism. It's a classic form of anti-Semitism. That was supposed to be a Ben Shapiro impression. I don't know if it really worked. You look under the hood and you're like, yeah, that's actually not anti-Semitism. It isn't. So what do you want from me? And the thing is, again, what do you say? Well, what are you saying, AD? Here's some anti-Semitism, and they'll show you some anti-Semitism. And it's like, well, yeah, I didn't say that it doesn't exist at all. And this is what we were saying back in 2020, but somehow everyone's kind of missed it this time. Not everybody, a lot of people don't miss it. A lot of people don't miss it. And it's crazy because people notice this. This is not just, this is not just raging anti-Semites that notice this. This is people notice it. It's like, you could say all day long that, the black community has a problem with fatherlessness, right? And that's doesn't even, but the woke people see that and they're like, oh, what are you anti-black? That's racist. That's actually the first video I ever did. James White made a comment like that, and this two guys, the Urban Perspective, they were saying, that's racism. That's racism to notice that. It's like, well, the woke people got it, but conservatives knew that wasn't racist. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. Yeah, there's a problem with fatherlessness in the black community. That's a problem. And it's like, well, you could talk about that. You could talk about if you don't talk about the problems in the white community, then you're a racist, basically. So you have to talk about that. And any community, Latinos, whatever it is, you could say whatever you want. And people were even blaming Latinos for the Republicans winning in Florida and stuff like that. Latinos are like the new white people, they're the new evil people. I get it. I get it. You could talk all day long. But the minute you say that, maybe there could be, possibly, maybe. You could nuance it as much as you want. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. But maybe there's a problem in the Jewish community. The minute you say that, that's when your Apple Pay gets revoked. Your Apple Pay's gone at that point. And people are like, well, what's that about? That's very strange. I don't understand what that's about. And people are asking questions. And here's the problem, though. The problem is that pastors are not actually addressing that in a legitimate way. What they're doing instead is making their statements, their declarations online, and it's like, we're against anti-Semitism. Yeah, but what about this thing where they cancel your ability to do financing if you say anything bad about them? Isn't that a little strange, Pastor? Well, I'm against it. I stand against. I declare. It's like honestly, what do you want? A cookie? You want a cookie for being against anti-Semitism? That's what you want? And it's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. What is not being understood here? That's what I don't get. That's what I don't get. I'm still laughing. I was laughing at the claim that white supremacy was the biggest threat in 2020, and I'm still laughing at that claim And I was laughing at the claim that, anti-black racism was like the worst thing. It's on the rise. It's everywhere. It's under every rock, behind every tree. I was laughing about that in 2020 because it was laughable. And now they've changed it to anti-Semitism, and I'm still laughing because it's still laughable. But a lot of my friends aren't laughing. They're making statements and declarations. And what is that urge to make a statement and declaration? Like, is I don't know this is to be true, but that certainly seems to be like this thing that conservatives need to make statements. And it's like, have you ever seen a liberal make a statement? I guess you have, but it's like, it's never been like this official, I stand against this and this and this. Like, it's just very strange. It's a conservative pathology. I don't understand where you have to like demonstrate. It's a conservative pathology where you have to like demonstrate, well, like, I'm not like one of those conservatives. And liberals don't ever have that impulse. It's very strange. It's very strange. Like, why not let your actions speak for itself, right? Like, I'm not going to answer for other people's beliefs. Like, look, if you've seen me say something, I've said this before. If you've seen me say something racist about black people or Jews or whatever, send me an email, prove it to me, and I'll send you $100 on PayPal. Actually, I can't because I don't use PayPal anymore. By the way, giving up PayPal was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to make life a lot harder. It really didn't. Not at all. Anyway, so I'll find some other way to get you $100. But maybe if you sign up for GabPay, I'll send you $100. In any case, I don't know, man. I don't know. I was laughing in 2020. I'm laughing now, but I'm looking around and there's a lot less people laughing. Maybe we were too hard on those guys, man. Again, I'm not saying that they were right. I'm not saying the woke church was right. But maybe I just underestimated how easy it is to fall into this mindset, into this thinking, and to think that you're very righteous for it too. You're buying the MSNBC propaganda that white supremacy is on the rise and now it's against anti-Semitism's on the rise. And it's like, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. A lot of people agree with me, actually. They say that they don't think anti-Semitism's on the rise necessarily. Like, they don't think there's more people that are anti-Semites, but they do think that it's louder, like it's more in your face. And you know what? I can understand that to a certain degree, but I even think that the volume is manufactured. The volume of anti-Semitism is manufactured. That's what I think. But I did a video a few months ago that said we're all anti-Semites now, and that's true because again, they think it's anti-Semitic for you to not think that being a Jew is just fine. Being a Jew is not just fine. A religious Jew, obviously. You're rejecting Christ. Like that's your Messiah that Christ sent, that God sent. He sent his Christ to his people, to the Jews, and you rejected him. That's not a small thing. That's a major thing. It's not okay to do that, obviously. But in any case, I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments section about all of this. I'm wondering, why is it that it's so easy to fall for this? You just swap out the thing. I think the programming runs real deep when it comes to anti-Semitism. Real deep. It runs real deep. And it's like most conservatives will do anything to not be, many conservatives will do anything to not be labeled a racist, against blacks or whatever. And they'll make statements, they'll bend over backwards and stuff. But then I think like there's many more, most even, will do anything, make their statements and declarations to be not seen as an anti-Semite. And it's like, man, you guys are just falling for this play, man. It's a play. This is a play, in my opinion. I don't know. Allegedly. What do I know? What do I know? I'm just a guy on YouTube. In any case, I hope you found this video helpful. God bless. Man, I was so nice. I was so innocent back then. Look at me. You're an innocent guy. If you only knew what was coming, man. This is pre-pandemic AD. I had a lot more hope in the world.